In a land once ruled by Rome, unity shattered and darkness fell. From the ashes of betrayal to the gates of Ravenna. One man carried the fate of an empire. The legend returns. The empire's last hope, or its final casualty. March 538 AD. The Gothic siege of Rome is over. After a year of bitter hardship, starvation, and disease, the enemy has given up. The Ostrogoths, their campaign failed, are retreating northward, defeated but not destroyed. They march in columns, burdened by silence and humiliation, their banners limp in the wind. But Belisarius is not finished. At the Salarian Bridge, where the Via Salaria crosses the river Tiber, the Eastern Roman general waits. He allows half the Gothic army to cross. Then, with a cry that shatters the morning fog, he strikes. His exhausted soldiers surge forward with a fury that defies their weariness. What follows is not a battle. It is an ambush, a collapse, a massacre. The Gothic rearguard fights desperately, trying to hold the line, but they are overwhelmed. Men scream, horses rear, swords flash. Panic spreads. Those who cannot force their way across the bridge are cut down or driven into the river. The Tiber turns red. Steel clashes against shield, then splits flesh. Bodies pile atop one another, some trampled, others drowning under the weight of armor and panic. No mercy is given, none expected. This is not just a tactical victory, it is a message, carved into corpses and etched into legend. Rome will not fall again. Belisarius has made sure of it. Do you think Belisarius was justified in launching a surprise attack on retreating enemies? Was this an act of ruthless strategy or cold-blooded vengeance? Tell us in the comments. As blood dried on the stones of Rome, another monument was rising in the east. In Constantinople, Emperor Justinian stood beneath the soaring dome of his latest triumph, the Hagia Sophia, a cathedral unlike any the world had seen. Stone, gold, and divine geometry combined into a proclamation. Rome lives on, not in Italy, but in Byzantium. But Justinian's ambitions stretched further than domes and mosaics. He did not merely want to restore Roman glory in spirit, he wanted the land as well. Italy, the heartland, the birthplace of emperors and empire. To that end, he entrusted his greatest general, Belisarius, with a mission of impossible scale: the full reconquest of the Western Empire. Soon, an opportunity presented itself. In the north of Italy, the city of Milan, once capital of the Western Empire, declared its desire to return to Roman rule. Encouraged by the Bishop of Milan, Belisarius dispatched a small force. It met with success. The Gothic defenders at Ticinum were routed, and Milan welcomed the Romans in triumph. But while Belisarius maintained calculated precision, not all of his commanders shared his discipline. John, a bold and brash general, and nephew of the once rebel Vitalian, seized the city of Ariminum on the Adriatic coast with a detachment of 2,000 elite cavalry. He acted without Belisarius's orders, perhaps imagining himself a conqueror. or simply testing the limits of command. Then came the reckoning. Hearing of Ariminum's fall, King Vitiges, now retreating from Rome, altered course. He mobilized the Ostrogothic army to march south. His aim, crush John before the Romans could consolidate their gains. Belisarius immediately saw the danger. John, cut off and surrounded, risked the annihilation of some of Rome's best cavalry and the loss of a critical position near Ravenna. To save him would require ingenuity and speed. Belisarius dispatched 2 trusted officers, ordering them to march infantry north to relieve John, then rotate his cavalry back to friendly lines for mobile operations. But John had no intention of following orders. When the reinforcements arrived, he refused to withdraw. Instead, he kept the infantry and fortified the city, preparing for a siege. Ariminum would become a trap of his own making, and the fuse had just been lit. The war for Italy was no longer just between Rome and the Goths. Now it was between generals. Was John reckless or simply courageous in claiming Ariminum on his own? Should Belisarius have punished him immediately or tried harder to assert command? Drop your thoughts below. We want to hear your verdict. John's insubordination had placed one of the Empire's finest cavalry units in a death trap, and Belisarius, ever the professional, did not let emotion cloud his judgment. He knew he had to save John, no matter how arrogant the man had been, but time was running out. Gothic King Vitiges was bearing down on Ariminum with a full army, intent on wiping John and his forces from the map. To avert disaster, Belisarius devised a 3-pronged rescue mission, a masterstroke of misdirection and maneuver. One detachment was left to monitor a large Gothic force at Oximum, ensuring they didn't threaten his rear. A second force advanced quickly along the coastal road, drawing attention. Meanwhile, a third, supported by the Roman fleet, moved north by sea, threatening an amphibious landing. At the same time, Belisarius himself led the main force inland, linking up with fresh reinforcements from Dalmatia, and joined by a new figure, Narses the eunuch. Narses was no soldier by training. He was the Grand Chamberlain, Justinian's closest advisor, a man who had proven himself politically shrewd during the Nika riots. But as a eunuch, he posed no dynastic threat to the emperor and thus held immense imperial trust. Belisarius held military command in Italy. But with Narses's status as the emperor's personal envoy, his authority could not be easily ignored. To avoid a power clash, Belisarius called a council of war, presenting the plan and urging agreement. John's actions were roundly condemned by Belisarius's officers. He had defied orders and brought this siege upon himself. Why risk more lives to save him? But Narses, a close ally of John, disagreed. His reply was pointed and political. If John treated your orders with insolence, most excellent Belisarius, he has already been punished enough. But you must ensure that neither we nor the emperor are also punished for his mistakes. Belisarius, despite his private anger, agreed. The rescue went ahead, and it worked. As Roman forces closed in from all directions, Vitiges feared being encircled and withdrew. Ariminum was saved. But then came the moment that shattered any hope of unity. When Belisarius invited John to thank the officers who had saved him, John publicly credited only Narses. The other commanders were shocked. Belisarius said nothing, but something had changed. From that time on, wrote Procopius, these two men began to regard each other with great suspicion. The war was no longer a matter of tactics. It was now a battle for command. Belisarius favored methodical advances, siege warfare, securing strongholds and cutting off Gothic supplies. Narses, on the other hand, championed bold thrusts, rapid moves to seize territory in Aemilia, and a direct path to Ravenna. Behind it all loomed a deeper question. Why had Justinian sent Narses in the first place? Was he a mere envoy, or a check on a general growing too powerful? When the friction between strategies became unbearable, Belisarius produced a letter from the emperor himself. "We have not sent our steward Narses to Italy in order to command the army. We wish Belisarius alone to command. All must obey him." Narses read the letter and rejected it outright. He accused Belisarius of failing to act in the interest of the Republic. The army fractured. Some officers followed Belisarius, others sided with Narses. And as Roman commanders argued and maneuvered against one another, the Goths regrouped. From within, the reconquest of Italy was starting to rot. Do you think Narses was sent to help Belisarius or to sabotage him? Should John have been court-martialed for endangering the entire campaign? Your thoughts could settle a 1,500-year-old debate. Leave your comment below. 539 AD. The campaign in Italy has turned into a slow, grinding war. Cities fall and are reclaimed, commanders feud, and strategy is strangled by ego. But now something more devastating looms. Not just a military failure, but a human catastrophe. To the Romans, Milan, Mediolanum, is more than just another Italian city. Once capital of the Western Empire, it is the beating heart of northern Italy, its richest and most populous metropolis. And now it is under siege. The defenders? Just 300 Roman soldiers and a hastily assembled citizen militia. Facing them, the nephew of King Vitigis, Urias, with thousands of Gothic troops, and an ominous new ally, the Burgundians, sent by Theodebert, king of the Franks. Though allies in name, the Franks are wolves with shifting loyalties. Their presence adds pressure, cruelty, and unpredictability to the siege. Inside the walls, conditions deteriorate rapidly. Food runs out, hope drains faster. The citizens turn to rats and dogs for nourishment. Disease spreads. The air is heavy with despair, not fire. Desperate messages are smuggled out. One plea reaches the Roman high command. A letter trembling with urgency. This city of Milan far surpasses all the cities of Italy in size and prosperity. But now we are perishing. If you hesitate to come to us in the present crisis, the result will be that we will perish after suffering the most cruel fate possible. Belisarius, at the time, is focused on besieging Urvivento, tightening the noose on another Gothic stronghold. But the cry from Milan cannot be ignored. He orders a relief force to march north. They reach the River Po, the threshold before Milan, and then stop. The reason? Fear. The Burgundian force, now swelled in number and ferocity, is too large. The Roman commanders hesitate, waiting for reinforcements from John, who holds troops nearby in Aemilia. But John refuses to move. By this point, John answers only to Narses, not Belisarius.